The Trump Digital Trading Cards NFT collection was launched only a few weeks ago. But what was the point of this collection? Why did Donald Trump release this collection? And what is his aim with this long term? Also, I'm going to cover what I think the value of each of these NFTs will be, say 6 to 12 months from now. And we also talk about exactly how much money he made from this collection and continues to make. So as you can see on the official website, each NFT cost $99 and there were 45,000 in terms of supply. So doing some simple math, you can quickly work out 4.5 million US dollars were raised from the mint alone. So that's when people minted each of these trading card NFTs. However, also on here, you'll see a creator fee of 10%. That's the commission paid to the creator, and they receive 10% of every single transaction. So if you click on an activity tab here on OpenSea and you scroll down, you'll see every 3 minutes when you get a transaction, Trump's NFT company will receive 10%. So for example, $250, $25 in commissions for that particular transaction. And if you look at the total trading volume here, which is 7,582 ETH, take 10% of that, and that's 758 ETH. That's how much Trump Digital Trading Cards has raised just in royalties, creator fees since launch. In dollar amounts, that's just under $1 million US. So that's on top of the $4.5 million US already raised. So what's the point of this collection? Why is he doing this? You can see here on Twitter, he's been reinstated. Donald Trump actually has his own social media platform, which is called Truth Social. Now, according to reports recently, Truth Social has been losing new users every single month over the last 2 to 3 months. He hasn't actually posted here on Twitter since January of last year when he was banned. One of the reasons you can speculate as to why he actually released this collection is to raise money, to raise funds. So far, you can see it's nearly $5.5 million in US dollars, but Trump's not poor. And even though we've seen other celebrities turn to NFTs to try and raise some quick cash, by any estimates, most people would say that Donald Trump is worth in the billions, just based on his ownership of real estate alone. So you can't really argue that it's to raise money. Well, how about for taxes? A big story at the moment is Donald Trump's tax returns. Trump was the first president in recent history to refuse to share tax information. And this is very much in the news at the moment. So has it got anything to do with that? My opinion, unlikely, unless he's declaring massive costs when it comes to actually setting up the NFT, and that somehow helps. So I think the first two so far are unlikely. What could be the third reason? The third could be just very poor advice. Now, if Donald Trump is planning to run again for the next presidential election, then maybe he got some advice where he was advised that perhaps he needed to appeal more to the younger generation, to younger voters. And because a lot of people are into crypto and NFTs, this would be a way of approaching it. You could argue even that this is good advice, especially if going up against somebody from an older generation like Joe Biden. But this is, I believe, absolutely possible as a reason. The first two don't make any sense. Now, in just a minute, we're going to have a look at the analytics when it comes to this particular collection and what I think will happen to the price long term, including all of the problems with the Trump Digital Trading Cards collection. But before I do that, I wanted to cover potentially one other reason. Many people regard Donald Trump as quite a shrewd investor and businessman, of course. So is there something in that? Well, if you have a look at some of the most famous NFT collections, one thing you'll realize is, apart from the mint, where the bulk of the actual revenue has come from is royalties long term. So let me give you an example. This is probably the most popular NFT collection, Bored Ape Yacht Club. And if you have a look at the volume there, it's done 700,000 in ETH. Now, when these were initially minted, they did not mint for much. And you can see their royalty is a lot lower at 2.5%. However, if it was 10%, then they would have made 70,000 in ETH. And when ETH was at its peak price, that would have equated to around 280 million US dollars. So does Trump believe that over the long term, especially if he runs again for president, that the value of these trading cards will pick up over a period of time? Or potentially he can release even more collections, and then this is potentially a decent source of revenue and income for him, maybe even to help fund a new campaign. Whilst this is all speculation, it's entirely possible. Here are the problems I see with this particular collection at the moment. The first one is the quality of the artwork. So let's have a look at that. The artwork, most would agree, is pretty poor. I mean, these are mostly superimposed images, and also there's a suspicion that a lot of the images are stock images just taken from the internet. So if you have a look at this report, you'll see allegedly some of the images being taken from Amazon listings, and also some of them taken from other random websites. And you have to say, looking at some of these images, it is quite possible. And the worst are some of the images where you can actually see a watermark behind the image. Now this creates a real problem, especially when it comes to long-term value of this particular NFT collection. The artwork isn't unique, or the artwork's been ripped off. You're not going to get whale investors interested in something like this. Next problem is the supply. For this particular collection, we're talking about 45,000. Now the largest and most well-known collections that you might call blue chip tend to have 10,000 as a limit or less, and sometimes 20,000, but no more than that. How NFTs work is basically like pretty much any market, it's supply and demand. If there's too much supply, then when the demand starts to dry up, you'll notice that the price will actually come down. And when this particular collection was very much in the news, the floor price was a little bit higher, and it's been gradually coming down. At the moment, it's around 0.2 ETH. So this will be an issue for the particular collection long term. Now, obviously, because Trump has such a large following, that's why the collection sold out so quickly in just 12 hours. And this would have sold out regardless of the artwork. But if the artwork was actually really, really good, then long term, it would have had more of a chance, in my opinion. Final issue is the utility, which really doesn't make any sense. For example, Zoom calls with the former president, signed autobiographies, etc. I don't think any of this he's going to be involved with when it comes to fulfillment. And long term, there's nothing interesting or particularly unique about that. So I don't think the utility here helps in terms of value at all. In terms of what I've seen personally and my experience, having a look at this particular floor price here, it's held up remarkably well, especially given we're in an ongoing bear market when it comes to NFTs. And I think it's brought potentially new users of NFTs into the space, which is not a bad thing. However, long term, will this get to a floor price of 1 ETH? I think the supply will make it very challenging, and the issues with artwork, which are unfortunate. If this was a 20,000 collection and the artwork was actually really good, unique, real as well, not just stock images, then I think it would have definitely had a chance. But looking at it at the moment, I would say no. And if there's no new announcement or update with regards to this collection, and people kind of get bored of it, or even there's more negative sentiment with regards to this and is damaging his potential future campaign, so he's going to shed less light on this particular collection, then I think there's a risk the floor price will continue to fall. Playing devil's advocate here, it's quite possible the floor price has been maintained by them anyway, just to save face, because it would have obviously been very damaging if this floor price had trended towards zero. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this particular collection. Thanks for listening.